So obviously I worked in banking and it's really intense. And it's great. My parents love the fact that I worked at a really prestigious bank. I mean, who doesn't want their child to work at Goldman Sachs? Um, but I absolutely hated, I knew from my first month that it wasn't for me. And that's not to discredit anyone that does work in banking, but I just knew that I didn't like the environment. And so when I told my parents I wanted to leave, they were horrified. They were like, stay there for 3 years, or 2 or 3 years, get some experience, and then you can do whatever you want. But I
Can you
had
describe
friends.
the culture there, or is it possible to describe a banking culture?
Yeah,
Being
I
in
would say that it's very rigorous, it's very cutthroat, very intense. So, you spend a lot of time, I guess, trying to meet and trying to ensure that you're working as hard as everyone else. And that can mean sometimes you're working till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And that for me was very difficult because I did want to have that work life balance. Despite the fact I was making so much money, I felt like I couldn't enjoy it because on the weekends I would be like a zombie, I'll be knackered. And so, but one thing I would say that it really gave me a great foundation. I think one of the great things about working in an investment bank is that it gives you such great training in terms of how to present and how to really operate within a corporate and well-structured environment. And so totally don't discredit that. And I highly I admire people that continue to work within banking because it is very intense. But for me, I knew at the time, like I had friends that were slightly older than me. They had left banking and gone on to do other things. And one of the best advice that I received actually was that, our careers are a marathon, not a sprint. So as I started looking for other roles, they were paying less. But for me, I had this view that, okay, this is where I am today, but it's not where I'm going to be forever. And if it's going to get me closer to where I want to go and something that I actually enjoy more, then I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And that's exactly what I did. So for me, it wasn't that, you know, yes, it was actually quite a scary experience, not leaving and not knowing exactly what the future would look like. And obviously my parents in my ear saying, don't do this, don't do this. But then when I did it, I went into it knowing that, it's okay to take risks within your career. If it didn't work out, I could easily go back into banking. And for me, I think that, taking calculated risk is so important early on in your career because that's the best time to take it, right? Where you don't
definitely.
have major liabilities and, you don't really have much to worry about. And at the end of the day, you can always fall back on what you were originally doing.
Definitely. But so in hindsight, when you decided this wasn't for me, how many years or months did it take before you found the right opportunity? Because you said the word calculated risk. Maybe you can dive a bit more into that concept because you shouldn't just take risk for the fact of taking risks, right?
Oh, 100% not. Yeah. I think when I say calculated risk, it's really weighing up the pros and cons. And you want to make sure that the pros are worth the potential cons. And so for me, the way I saw it was that, yes, I'm taking this big leap of faith. I'm leaving this industry. And it did take me, I've basically, I left university, went into banking, went into strategy consulting, and then went into venture capital. So it took me essentially three different career paths for me to figure out what exactly I love to do and where I believe my gifts are. And without having taken that risk, if I just stayed in banking, I never would have, discovered the world of venture capital that I love operating in today. And so when I say take calculated risk, I think that you just have to ensure that whatever risk you're taking, so me leaving banking, I knew that what's the worst that could happen? Maybe I won't find something, or maybe I'd go into something that I don't like. But at the end of the day, I could always step back into banking.